My name is Mahi Thakur. I'm a 20-year-old girl from India. I am an education activist and I am your host at this Youth Rights Day panel. To introduce my panelists now, we have Jake Dozinger, a 15-year-old innovator looking to spark change in education through meaningful conversation, relevant research, and youth advocacy. He recently founded Project Blaze, a youth organization that strives to light a flame in students who want to spark change in their education and the world. Now we have Addie. Addie is a 17-year-old girl from Vermont. She's studying at the Southern Vermont school called Ellington Memorial High School. She is passionate about social justice, especially anti-racism in our education system. Praja is a 15-year-old student who has spent 4 years studying about design thinking. His experience revealed to him that young people have to reshape the world while reinforcing his conviction that problems can only be solved by questioning assumptions and involving those directly affected. What has led you to become an activist? Why does this work matter to you?
So it's really just the most valuable thing that I can bring to the table is real world experience, like all of you. To be part of this education system, to be part of this system that disregards children as legitimate voices, disregards teenagers as legitimate voices, and disregards young people as a whole as legitimate voices. That's a really tough world to navigate. And so to have that experience and to go through public school for 8 years, even just being in this world where right now it's not fair for us. I come from real world experience, and that's kind of what I hope to bring to the table.
I think it really came from seeing so many social justice issues in our world, and I think for me specifically, something that really started it was George Floyd's murder in the U.S. And then another thing was like when there was a man who was homeless in my town who had to sleep outside, and he ended up dying because of that. And so those were two events for me that were really catalysts. But I think in general for just youth, youth have so many creative solutions.
I really wanted to become an activist for student empowerment and student change because I really believe that as a student, the students around me have the power to change the world. And I feel like we don't have that confidence as a student body because of the way the school system has worked, that we can affect the world around us. And I really want students to have that drive and passion that they can create change.
Why do issues of racism in the United States tie into our education system?
Racism in general is really, really tied to the education system. And I think it really starts with just acknowledging how embedded racism is in our society as a whole. So like one statistic, specifically talking about the US where I have my experiences, police officers are 3.5 times more likely to kill a black person than a white person.
What changes would you like to see happen in 1 year, 5 years, and 10 years?
I want for students to be prepared for the workplace of the future. Something that I've noticed that's going on in our everyday world is that students and this next generation are going to have to be the ones that solve the problems. Because as Addie mentioned, there's so many things that are building up in our society, and we're relying on our generation today to be able to solve these world problems that adults don't even know where to start to tackle them at. In 1 year, I would like to see a lot more awareness for this education movement. And what I mean by that is I want to see advocates for change, just an acknowledgement that the education system today is not going to fit those needs that we are seeing created in the future, and that there's a need for change.
So what should adults realistically expect of young people?
So it's important to know that the kids who really want to affect change on a global scale are few and far between, and those kids should be treated as such with dignity, and you need to really give them a platform to continue to spread their message and to hopefully inspire more youth after them to continue that same path, to continue to advocate for other kids. But right now, the average kid just isn't capable of representing the entire youth population. To me, that's a universal truth. I hope we can get there someday, but at this point in time, it's just a few people, few and far between, and we need to give those kids the platform to speak their truth.
what we observed in India during COVID-19 was that there were two kinds of people. One that had access to e-learning, they had mobile phones and internet connection, and there were this other underprivileged children who did not have access to all these resources. It is just really sad that how education has become a business. What's your message, Praja?
Really, in order to create long-term change, like that 10-year revolution, we need to continue to support and connect youth and advocates and change makers through like conferences such as this one, and through movements, and sort of unite under a common theme that we want to change in education.
So I think my message for adults would be to just uplift every young person. Even if they're a person who's maybe not so talkative or doesn't have the resources to be able to go to a good school, or even have technology like this to be able to be at these panels, like uplift their voices, because I'm sure they have just as amazing things to share. And if we were to hear everyone's voices, that's really where the bigger social change comes in.
My message would be, you have to remember that all this, all the people that ever lived, and every human right, animal rights, all the sort of rights, the system, the other, other prime minister or anything that will ever happen is going to end one day.
This next generation are going to have to be the ones that
Right,
solve the problems, because
it's
as Abby
important
mentioned,
to
there's
know
so many
that
things
the
are
kids who
building up
really
our
want to
society,
affect
and
change
we're
on a
relying
global
Youth have
scale
so many
are
creative
few
solutions,
and
like
few and
Praja
far
was saying,
between,
like
and those
that
kids
youth
should be
need to
treated
be
as such.
empowered
and
to be
we
able
start
to
Dig